Shalom. This is the brother Ra'aya coming at you with another lesson. But before I get started, I'm going to give all praises, glory, and infinite honors to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahawashi. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, and peace and salutations to you sincere Ahchyam out there, pushing this word and truth and sincerity to the four corners of the globe. May you brothers endure until the end, and to the few sincere Aqua diligently learning in silence. Shabbat Shalom. And I'm going to start it off in Psalms chapter 64, verse 1. And the header on the blue letter Bible says, Prayer for deliverance from secret enemies. To the chief musician, a psalm of David. Hear my voice, O power, in my prayer. Preserve my life from fear of the enemy. Hide me from the secret counsel of the wicked, from the insurrection of the workers of iniquity, who whet their tongue like a sword, and bend their bows to shoot their arrows, even bitter words. Esau, Edom, the so-called white man, specifically the elites, using their media and propaganda to control the narrative, that they may shoot in secret at the perfect. Suddenly did they shoot at him and fear not. They encourage themselves in an evil matter. They commune of laying snares privily. They say, who shall see them? And, these elites work behind the scenes to what? Monitor brothers, create the narrative to make us, look like we're crazy, make us look like domestic teists, black identity extremists, all that, so that when they come out in the open with it, they'll have all the pieces and information they need in play to persecute, the men of the Lord and persecute this truth. But I opened up the video with these verses to preface this article from consortiumnews.com titled, Israel Googling real names of anonymous X users. Across the world, anonymous users on the social media platform X are reporting that data from Google Trends shows their real names are being mass searched in Israel. Alan McLeod reports. That's what's in this article. People speaking against, the 1948er state, the war in Gaza, Iran or anything like that. Hey, they're showing up in search engines over in the land of Israel. And we're just talking about your average, everyday American conspiracy theorist, alternative media person, what have you. How much more, the men of the Lord who are really exposing this devil, that he is, that the 1948ers who are Edomites are not the people of the book, who they are, what they're doing in prophecy and what's going to happen to them. So how much more are they, observing the men of the Lord behind the scenes? Hey, they lay snares privily, hide me from the secret counsel of the wicked. And hey, to sincere Ahchyam out there, you should know by now that you're on a, you're on a watch list. All your searches, your text communication, they've got a whole dossier down on you, so that when the persecution comes, they're going to know which way to maneuver to come against us. They shoot at the righteous in secret and say, who seeth us? But with the spirit of Yahweh Bahasham Yahawashi, we see you devils and exactly how you're coming. And we know that you're going to come against us to persecute the men of the Lord, to persecute this word, to do what? Bring about the famine of the word, because you're just being exposed too much. But even that is a part of biblical prophecy. So as it says in the New Testament, for we can do nothing against the truth, but for the truth. Everything is working in our favor, Ahchyam. Hey, the persecution will come down and we're going to have to go through our trials and tribulations, but remain faithful unto Yahweh Bahasham Yahawashi, and that standard will be set up for you, which, Let's go back to that Psalm 64. I'm a reread verse 6. I'll reread verse 5 and then, read down to 7. They encourage themselves in an evil matter. They commune of laying snares privily. And that's clearly a trap. You speak up against what the powers that be are doing, and your full government name shows up on a search engine in another country, because, as we'll see in that article, the programs used to identify yourself on these programs, they store your information, and, though they say they delete it after they verified you, best believe they keep all that data, locked in for when they need to use it. They encourage themselves in an evil matter. They commune of laying snares privily. They say, who shall see them? They search out iniquities. They accomplish a diligent search. Like I said, brothers out there, hey, be aware that you have a whole dossier on you. What you like, what you eat, the locations you go to, the purchases you make, your job, family members, friends, women, children, etc., etc. Both the inward thought of every one of them and the heart is deep. But the Most High shall shoot at them with an arrow. Suddenly shall they be wounded. Yahweh Bahashem Yahushai is ultimately going to come to our defense, though we do have to go through this persecution, that standard being set up, and then ultimately what? Nuclear arrows being shot during World War III and completely wiping the United States of America off the face of the earth and, evicting, so to speak, those 1948ers and those other nations out of the land of Israel. But let's get into this article. A wide range of anonymous X Twitter users have reported that their real names are suddenly being Googled in Israel shortly after they began criticizing the country for its actions in Palestine. And, I was watching a video from Richie from Boston the other day, and he was talking about how, this has happened to him. His name and other guys he knows have been showing up in searches over in Israel. Some connected the phenomena to AU10 ticks, the software X requires users, even anonymous ones, to use in order to verify their real identities. And if you're using anything that's a part of Esau's system, especially when it comes to this tech, these social media platforms, chats, anything like that, best believe that they're monitoring everything. Just the other day, I can't remember which camp it was, but, brothers were holding camp and a van, made a suspicious turn and parked right in front of the camp, a van with blacked out windows and government tags on the plate. And the brothers speculated that it was a surveillance van. So they're damn sure watching us out here, watching us online, watching us on the block. And the brother also said that when that van came up, they started having issues with their camera, which, before then, there were no issues. AU10 Ticks is an Israeli company founded and staffed by former Israeli spies from the elite Israeli military intelligence group, Unit 8200. Mint Press News investigates this disturbing phenomenon. Largest honeypot operation on planet. I'm not even kidding when I say my full legal name, including my middle name, has been searched up in Israel 11 times in the past day, wrote Transfem POTUS, an anonymous ex-user who has been highly critical of the 1948ers' actions. This was not an isolated incident. So apparently my full legal name got searched for in Israel the other day, revealed the Atlantean 9, an anonymous far-left user with a Palestinian flag in their bio. Meanwhile, artist Bionico Bandito stated that my full name got searched 100 times in Israel when I posted this, referring to a cartoon depicting associates of the Big Steen being deleted across the world from conservative Japanese accounts to American seaspiracy theorists. Anonymous users are reporting that data from Google Trends shows their real names, not divulged anywhere online, are being mass searched in Israel. And how much more the men of the Lord, the true Israelites who are exposing this devil through the scriptures, are being monitored. You know, a couple of years ago, you had a 1948er at a conference over there.
My name is Vicky.
You know, mention how Black American youth poses the biggest threat to the 1948ers. And why would that be? It's not because of, sagging or shooting Dracos. It's because Israel, the true Israelites, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, are waking up through the words of the prophets out on the highways and byways preaching this word, as well as putting up video epistles like this. And as it says in the scriptures, the tents of Judah, you know, you so-called Black African-American Negroes would rise first. And, you know, when you look at a lot of the camps, you know, the majority of them look like, so-called black men, you know, the Southern Kingdom. So, hey, clearly that's the reason why Black American youth are the biggest threat. Really, Israelites are the biggest threat, the prophets, because we're shining a light on all the lies that the devil has used to deceive the world with. But this is a clip I've used before, you know, from African Diaspora News Channel titled 1948er Consul Official Says So-Called Black American Youth Are a Threat. And I'm going to jump it to the about 50-second mark. And this is a fair use copyright disclaimer. I do not own any of the footage in this clip, nor do I stand to gain from it monetarily. It is simply for educational purposes.
With Israel. So it's disturbing to hear these comments. Watch this.
The problem of Israel is with the young generation of the Black community. Black Lives Matter starts there.
So just to give a look,
the young
alliance with Israel. So it's disturbing to hear these comments. Watch this.
The problem of Israel is with the young generation of the Black community. Black Lives Matter starts there.
Straight from the horse's mouth. So if you've got 1948er consuls saying that, so-called Black American youth is the biggest threat to the 1948er state, then it's not far-fetched to believe that these different social media programs and platforms and all that, hey, brothers' names and information is being sent not just to a database in the U.S. government, but over to the 1948er government as well. Again, across the world, from conservative Japanese accounts to American seaspiracy theorists, anonymous users are reporting that data from Google Trends shows their real names, not divulged anywhere online, are being mass searched in Israel. How could this be happening? Some laid the blame on AU10TIX's door. Only AU10TIX and X holds my data obtained from ID verification, wrote one user in a viral post, adding, the rumors are absolutely true. The 1948ers are now 100% confirmed to be Googling anonymous users on X and their family members shortly after they speak out against the country, wrote another, concluding that X is now the largest honeypot operation on the planet. You know, the 1948ers own all these platforms. You know, X, I think it's Larry Ellison has a big hand in TikTok now, YouTube, all these things. The theory centers around 1948er security company AU10TIX, which in 2023 was tasked with verifying users' identities, a prerequisite for joining X's premium service, which allows users a far greater reach. The process requires individuals to upload a picture of their passport or other photo ID and allow AU10 ticks to scan their face via their device's camera. AU10 ticks claims that it deletes users' data within 72 hours of receiving it. Well, guess that's not the case. However, the fact that the company was founded and is staffed by veterans of notorious 1948er spying group Unit 8200, a group that has been behind many of the outrageous hacking, infiltration, and cyber warfare scandals of the past decade, has led many to be extremely suspicious. And they've come out and said that Facebook is a data gathering program for the CIA and the FBI. I'm gonna jump around a bit, get to the main points. The idea that AU10 ticks itself or the 1948er government could be using the data given to it by users in order to combat online criticism is far from outlandish. And what do they mean by online criticism? Exposing all their dirty dealings out there. The Department of Homeland Security is already known to be doing the same, sending hundreds of subpoenas to Google, Facebook, Instagram, Reddit, Discord, and other large social media apps, demanding they share the personal information and identities of anonymous users who have criticized the actions of Immigration, Customs, and Enforcement, ICE. That's all the platforms right there. It's from the 1948ers to what? The U.S. Hey, hide me from the secret counsel of the wicked that hide in the dark and lay snares privily, that they may shoot their arrows, even their bitter words, creating, gathering all this data and information so that when they make their move against us to demonize the men of the Lord, they have all their ducks in a row. But let's see. Unit 8200, which they're saying AU10 ticks is, made up of former members of, also reportedly produced malware that attacked Microsoft Windows operating systems, using loopholes it found to attack control systems, delete hard drives, and shut down key systems, such as the energy infrastructure of Iran. Surely, their most deadly endeavor, however, is Project Lavender. The group developed the Lavender software, which uses AI and big data to develop a profile on every person in Gaza, including children, assigning them a score of 1 to 100 based on individuals' perceived connection to Hamas. So if they're doing this with them, how much more than us? How much more with us? These different programs and projects and brothers, getting rated from 1 to 100 or 1 to whatever of how much of a threat they pose to the system. But listen to how deep it gets with this Project Lavender. A wide range of characteristics, including sharing similar work schedules to or being in a WhatsApp group with a known Hamas member, would raise one score. If an individual's number reached a certain level, they would automatically be put on a list. Damn, these AI-driven kill lists allowed the IDF to find a way around what they called targeting bottlenecks, with Lavender identifying over 37,000 Palestinians to be deleted in the first week of the attack alone. There was little to no human oversight on these systems. So we're talking about programs being used to rate people on whether they get put on a deletion list or not. What does it say in Matthew chapter 10? Ye shall be brought before governors and kings and great men for my sake, for a testimony. against the Gentiles, the heathens. Unit 8200 was able to do this thanks to the massive surveillance apparatus it has built up over time. Palestinians' as every public move is watched over by facial recognition cameras, which you got those damn near everywhere, in the U.S. Stores, streets, you name it. Their calls, texts, and emails are monitored. Dossiers on every Palestinian, including their medical history, sex lives, and search histories, are compiled so that this information can be used for extortion and blackmail later. Like I've been saying throughout the video, they got a whole, file on you brothers out there. Shit, myself included. But that's pretty much it with this article. But hey, these very same programs that are being used, for Palestinians or so-called conspiracy theorists, are those that are speaking out against the 1948ers, the power structure as well, is definitely being used against us. And as we see, the end rapidly approaching, World War III on the precipice, and the mark of the BEAST about to be rolled out and mandatorily implemented, that persecution and the famine of the word is rolled in there as well. And, Yahushai, hey, there were spies sent out to monitor, him in the past so that they could find information to accuse him before the Romans. So, as it says in Romans 15, everything written aforetime was written for our learning. In Ecclesiastes chapter 1, there is nothing new under the sun. But this is Luke chapter 20, verse 20. And this is speaking of how, the Pharisees and Sadducees would send out men that would feign themselves as sincere to try to catch up Yahushua and his words. So what? They would have information to try and go and accuse him before the authorities to get him caught up. And they watched him and sent forth spies which should feign themselves just men, that they might take hold of his words, that so they might deliver him unto the power and the authority of the governor. And, we do have, Judas goats around us. As Apostle Tahar says, there's a Judas in every camp. But, back then you'd have to send men, men physically around to, gather information. But now with the internet and everybody's search histories, being tracked and monitored and collected, hey, you've got digital spies out here to take, hold of our words. They've got tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of hours of information that they can take pieces they want here and there and create a narrative to form a particular picture. And then now with AI, that takes it to a whole nother level. They can create whole generated videos with your face, your voice, you saying something you didn't say, and you committing some kind of act, to further blame you. Now I'm going to go to Isaiah chapter 29, verses 18 to 21. And in that day shall the deaf hear the words of the book, and the eyes of the blind shall see out of obscurity and out of darkness. The elect of Israel hearing these words and waking up, their spiritual eyes and ears being opened by the prophets preaching this word, which is what these devils fear. Hence why that 1948er consulate said that the biggest threat to the 1948er state is black American youth. The meek also shall increase their joy in Yahweh, and the poor among men shall rejoice in the Holy One of Israel, because we have our identity back. We know that we are the children of the Most High, and that this current situation with us being at the bottom is about to come to an end, and we're about to rule in righteousness for the rest of eternity. And those that afflicted us, beginning with you Edomites, are going to be put underneath our feet. As it says, for the terrible one is brought to naught, and the scorner is consumed, and all that watch for iniquity are cut off, which the terrible one is being brought to naught right now spiritually, with the prophets exposing him. And then when Yahushua makes his second coming, that's when he's going to take you devils physically out of power. Verse 21, that make a man an offender for a word. As I said back in that Luke 20:20, send out spies that they may catch him in his words so that they can accuse him before the governor and the authorities, and lay a snare for him that reproveth in the gate. Using all these different spies and agencies and programs to gather all this information to eventually come with that persecution and turn aside and lay a snare for him that reproveth in the gate, the secret counsels of the wicked, to shoot their arrows in secret and turn aside the just for a thing of naught. And what all this is ultimately leading to, which this is another thing that's around the corner since we're at the end, is the famine of the word. This is Amos chapter 8, verses 11 to 13. Behold, the days come, which were in these days, saith the Lord Yahweh, that I will send a famine in the land, not a famine of bread, nor a thirst for water, those things are coming as well, but of hearing the words of Yahweh. When the men of the Lord are no longer going to be on the highways and byways preaching this word, and these video epistles are no longer going to be online. And they shall wander from sea to sea, and from the north even to the east. They shall run to and fro to seek the word of Yahweh, and shall not find it. In that day shall the fair virgins and young men faint for thirst, spiritually. 2/3 of you Israelites that didn't take heed to the words of the prophets when the word was freely available unto you. When this famine of the word hits and Jacob's trouble, hey, you're going to be looking for the men of the Lord, as it said, from sea to sea, from the north even to the east, to find the word of Yahweh, and shall not find it. And then as it says in 2 Ezra chapter 9, as when you spent this time of liberty, when this word was available, despising it and casting it behind your back, you're going to know it after death by pain, when Yahweh Bahashem Yahushai judges you harshly. So it behoove you Israelites out there, again, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans who come across these video epistles, to drink from these rivers of living waters while you still can, because that spigot is very soon about to be turned off. But that's it with this video. With this video, I hope you sincere Ahchyam and Ahkwath were edified. Just keep strong. We are almost out of this final wicked captivity of the heathen nations, chiefly of the Edomites. And as always, I'm going to say Abad Babal, Kwam Yasharala, and Shabbat Shalom.